today, my mocktail is actually brought to you by Element Tea. Element Tea is my absolute favorite electrolyte blend. It is potassium, sodium, and magnesium. And this one is lemonade. So, absolutely delicious. So, cheers to you. There is no alcohol in this, if you're wondering. I feel like my camera's crooked, but I would like you to notice our background. And why did I want a Zen background? Well, today we are talking about the five, yes, only 5 steps to stop binge eating. And I want to just have a disclaimer before we get into it today. Binge eating disorder and overeating food are very different. And a lot of individuals actually just overindulge on food and meals. So I want to make that disclaimer now that it is not always considered binge eating disorder. I have worked with many individuals who have true binge eating disorder, and it looks very different. But what we're talking about is really, just feeling out of control with food, feeling like you can't have certain foods in the house, feeling like you have to avoid certain foods. So we're going to talk about the 5 very simple, right, but not always easy to execute steps to take. So if you guys are ready for it, let's get into it. I think I'm supposed to have music with this, but all right. Well, there it is. All right. If you guys are new here, I'm Christina Hathaway. I'm a licensed associate marriage and family therapist who specializes in food and body obsession and a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. And this live stream is all good and fun. If you're looking for actual therapy and clinical practice and you're in the state of Arizona, I do provide telehealth practice. If you're looking for more wellness, my wellness program is really focused on your nutrition, your fitness, and your mindset. So both of those will be in the description of this page. So welcome if you are new. We've had some people actually watch this afterwards, so welcome to you guys as well. But I want to get into it. So let's get into our first question. So which one of these happens the most to you guys? You skip a meal or like a couple meals, and then you overeat later. So that's number 1. Put this in the chat. Number 2, you feel out of control with certain foods, which is something that I had mentioned in the intro. Number 3, you eat when you're stressed or overwhelmed or bored. That's a big one for people, boredom eating. Or number 4, you do really well, so you like eat clean. And I'm going to use the word you did well based on what you say to yourself. You eat really well for the day, but then binge at night. So let's put those in. Again, number 1, skip meals and then overeat later. Number 2, I feel out of control around certain foods. Number 3, I eat when I'm stressed or overwhelmed. Number 4, I do well during the day, but binge at night. Now, why you guys are putting that in the chat, I think it's so important to recognize that all of these 4 things are very common for individuals. And we don't realize that it's not even the binge itself. We oftentimes think it's the food that is the problem. But what I'm going to teach you guys today is it's actually the food becomes a solution to a greater problem. But the problem with that is that this industry, the health and wellness industry, is very different from the therapeutic industry, right? In a therapy setting, we're going to look at food as a solution to a greater problem, right? However, for those of you who might emotionally eat, overdo it sometimes, but really struggle with your relationship with food, there isn't really a place in between that you can go for support other than the Mindset of Matter, which is my coaching program. Because we're not doing therapy, we're not diagnosing people, we're not doing any of that. But what we are doing is teaching you the behavioral changes and the mindset changes you need to make. Because if you go to a trainer or even a nutritionist, and sometimes, don't kill me, even a dietitian, they're going to focus very solely on your behaviors themselves. And the problem is that the food is not the problem, right? So that is something that we will talk about today. Okay. Let me make sure all right, got it. Okay, so if you're watching this, I want you to think about that. Which one happens to you the most? Is it skipping meals and overeating later? Do you feel out of control around certain foods? Do you only eat when you're stressed and overwhelmed? And do you do well during the day, but not at night? Okay. So be thinking about that as we're going through this live stream. Obviously, if you're watching later, cool. We love you. Love you to be here. We do this live stream every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is going to sound contradictory to what is actual, like, it's going to sound contradictory to what we're trying to do here, because I'm actually going to tell you to eat enough food, and prioritize whole foods. Okay. Most binges start by under fueling. And if you've followed me long enough, you understand this, but in an effort to repeat what I have or say it to you because you're new here, when we when we restrict food, our brain has a defense mechanism that says, whoa, like, where's the food? Where's the fuel? Like, I need food. Like, your brain needs like 120 grams of carbs a day to like function. So your body's job is to keep you alive, but more importantly, keep your brain and your heart functioning. So it's going to say, where's the food? And, it'll kind of give you some cues, like you're hungry, but you don't listen to them. So then what it'll start doing is actually increasing your thinking about food, and you'll start obsessing over it. And then you will think about it and think about it and think about it until you get it. But because now we're so hungry, we know what happens, right? Then once you eat, your body has another system where it's normally supposed to release a hormone called leptin, which says to your brain and your body, I have enough fuel. I'm good. We're good to go. However, because we've restricted and our body is used to getting that food in constantly, because we've restricted for this amount of time, because maybe you've decided that, it's summertime coming up and you need to lose 50 pounds before then, and you're going to not eat anything, which I do not recommend. Your brain's like, whoa. This is way different than where we were. We were getting food in and a lot of it, and now it's gone, right? That is counter to our ancestors who could fast for days at a time. There is feast and there's famine. We're not like that anymore, unfortunately. So the brain, again, will, because it's not getting the food in, it will actually not release leptin, and you will end up eating bigger portions. Then the body will store that food, and we will say, shoot, look what I did. I'm such a failure. I'm lazy. I'm a loser. And what do? We restrict again. So not receiving food is a very powerful signal to the body, okay? It's a biological communication tool, your hunger. And I want you guys to hear this, that you do not have to be afraid of being hungry. Your hunger cues are similar to like having to pee. They are your biological cues based on a need in the body to either receive or release. Okay? So let's get used to eating enough. So what might that look like? Well, first and foremost, we want to be eating at least 3 balanced meals. Your meals need to have a protein source, a carb source, and a fat source. That's macros. You can talk about macros this, macros that. I used to be a macros queen too. But when we actually break down the idea of macronutrients, it's basically the foods that your body needs. We need proteins to build, right? It helps to build on the cellular level all the way up. We need carbohydrates to help us with energy. We need fats for hormonal health and satiety. So we need the food, okay? So having a balanced plate. Why do I say balanced? Because some of y'all think, oh, look, I have an egg and, a piece of sausage. That is a snack. We're not doing fake, weak ass bitch food. We're doing real woman food. So with that said, we want whole foods as well. Why, when you guys, I want you to think about what bars and protein powders are, what they actually are. They're marketed to tell you they're high protein, which technically they are high protein. But that's not the thing. What I talked about last week in the metabolism live stream applies here. When you eat your food, so and I'm going to have a guest on in a couple weeks and he'll explain this even better. Your salivation starts the process of digestion. And then we chew the food, we swallow the food, you know, it goes into our stomach, then in our small intestine, da da da, right? If we're drinking or it's highly processed, it's not going through that, or it's going through that system very quickly. So your bars and your powders, they're not true protein sources, and oftentimes they're full of other chemicals. Okay, use them sparingly. I want protein at meals, I want fiber rich foods, and again, I want that balance. So if your body feels like it's constantly trying to keep up on calories, binge eating is going to be, it's just going to become stronger over time, because your body is like, I'm constantly playing catch up, which is absolutely what we don't want to do. So I want you to be honest with yourself and answer this for yourself, is like, how many meals do I usually eat in a day? And not to like shit on yourself, but let's be honest here. How many meals do I eat in a day? So that is one of the things I want you guys to think about. Okay. The next thing is, not only do we want to eat enough, but we also want to look at foods from a different standpoint altogether. Oftentimes we restrict foods, right? And we restrict certain foods and food types, right? So we might restrict more sweet foods or savory foods like chips. But over time, you kind of are like white knuckling your way through this restriction, and it increases your cravings for those foods. So when we label foods as bad, the brain interprets eating that food as a failure, okay? When we interpret a failure, there's a part of our brain that says, well, I don't want to fail, and that's going to be really disappointing. So then it lowers your motivation to not to refrain from having that food. Okay? And so then it says, well, I've already messed up, so I'm going to eat all of it. So what I'm going to teach you guys, and I'm going to share my screen. Oops. I wish I would have gone live on let's see, where is it at? Here we go. On TikTok. Okay, so this is the sustainable eating quadrant, and I'm going to see if I can present this to you guys. Let's see. Can I present this? I can't. Okay. You know what? I'll just blow it up. So this is the easiest way, you guys, to not label foods as good or bad. We're going to label them in this quadrant instead. So the first side of the quadrant is pleasurable and nourishing foods. Those are the foods that they provide you immediate enjoyment, but also have lasting nourishment to support your body's needs. So for me, that's going to be strawberries, blueberries, avocados, eggs, sourdough. Well, that's kind of processed, but apples. I love apples. I love bananas. I love oats, right? So these are foods that I don't need to do much to. Maybe cook an egg. Obviously, I'm not eating it raw. Put some salt and pepper on. We're good to go, right? So I want you to think about food. Avocados in there, if I didn't say it. Almonds, nuts, peanuts. Love peanuts. It's kind of crazy how much I love peanuts. Dark chocolate. What else? Anywho, you're going to take a piece of paper, and actually, if you guys are interested, you can screenshot this. I have this here for you. Okay. So screenshot this. I'll give you a second. Okay. And then we'll come back. So I want you to write down as many foods that are in the pleasurable and nourishing quadrant. Okay. Write them down. Be very specific. Don't just say nuts, say almonds, say peanuts, kind of like I did. Okay. In quadrant 2, we're looking at foods that are pleasurable but not nourishing to you. These are foods you enjoy simply for pleasure. Even if they're harder on your body to process mentally and physically, the goal for these foods are to enjoy them, to not restrict them. Have them, be mentally sound when you're having them, instead of like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm having this, and being like distracted by 10,000 other things. No, sit down and enjoy that damn food, okay? And find the portion that serves you physically and mentally. Okay. I just had a conversation with a client today who said, well, there was this anything bunt cake at this event she went to, and it was a banana cream. She had never had that before. And I teach my clients, like, then have the cake. However, her thought process went into a scarcity mindset. Well, I need to have more of it, because I'm guessing when she was having the cake, she was not mindful and like actually enjoying it and slowing it down. And so she ended up taking a huge piece of cake home. I think almost the entire rest of the cake home, her and her partner. And then they ended up eating it throughout the weekend. And I said, well, did that serve you? And she said, no, I felt like crap. I was really, inflamed. And obviously mentally, I didn't like that I felt out of control. So I said, okay, so let's go back. If you would have just enjoyed the slice and reminded yourself, like, I can order this on DoorDash whenever I want, getting out of that scarcity mindset before you start eating, very important. Get out of that mindset before we eat, because if we're in our head about it while we're eating, again, we're taking away from the satisfaction of that food. And then if you decide, you know what, I think that in a couple of days, I might want another piece of that. So I'm going to take a little slice home, and that's it. Or I'm not going to take it home at all, or I'll DoorDash it later. I'm creating some space and saying, this is the portion that serves me right now. So finding those portions with those pleasurable foods. Okay. On number 3, we have foods that are nourishing but not pleasurable. Now, I want to say that this does not include foods you don't like. Okay. So like, I don't like red onions. They're going to be in number 4, basically. So these are foods that fuel your body really well, but like aren't appealing on their own. Like I said in quadrant 1, like I can eat a strawberry, baby. I don't need anything else but that strawberry, right? So these foods still have a place in your life, but we just need to know how to like zhuzh them up a little bit. Also, I tried to spell zhuzh. Please help me in the comments or in the chat. Please help me spell zhuzh. I couldn't, yeah. Anyway, think about this. Ground beef, okay? Maybe some people out there love ground beef by itself. You may also be a sociopath. I do not. I'm going to need to mix it into a marinara. I'm going to need to make it into a burger patty with some cheese on it and like some seasoning. I'm going to need to make it with some taco seasoning and make it a taco, right? Think about it that way. How can I increase the satiety or pleasurable aspect of this food? So, for example, we make these little bowls where we do, there's a sheet pan veggie mix from Costco. So good. I don't know how they're so good, but they're delicious. Air fry those. We put ground beef. And then I have this quinoa mix from Seeds of Change that's actually really flavorful, and all 3 of those things together, high protein, good amount of veggies, obviously carbs, fiber was the word I was looking for. So good. So that would be something you put in number 3. So foods that I like, but I can't just eat them plain and gross. This is where a lot of you fall into this trap, because you think that in order to be healthy, you need to eat chicken and broccoli. You don't have to do that unless you are competing and going on stage. We don't have to do that. And even then, I have interviewed a lot of competitors or been on their podcast, and they're like, no, like I still give myself options, right? So that is number 3, foods that are nourishing, but we need to zhuzh up. And number 4 is foods that are not pleasurable and not nourishing. Your protein bars might be a number 4. If you're just swallowing them because you think they're good for you, but you hate them, no. Food should be pleasurable mentally and physically, right? And that's what we're talking about here. I have a quote on TikTok that says, food should elicit an emotion, not suppress one. Okay? It should make you feel good. It makes you feel like, oh, this feels like home. Oh, that was really satisfying. Not cut off my anxiety, right? So anyway, back to number 4. Number 4 is we don't like it. And I don't like potato chips. The reason I don't like potato chips is, have you ever just put a potato chip in your mouth and let it sit there? It's disgusting. Okay. I also don't like curly fries. I don't like fries with seasoning. I don't like double fried fries. I want the potato fried once, salt, go. I'm a fry snob, and if you catch me outside at a restaurant, I'm going to ask you if your fries are double fried or seasoned. Okay, that would be my number 4. Think about it. You've been somewhere where you're just shoving food in your mouth and you're like, I don't even fucking like this, but I'm just eating. Don't eat those foods. So what do we do with this once it's done? Remember, you guys, if you're just coming on, this is where we want to take a screenshot, and you can also take a screenshot of this here. We can put it in the show notes, I believe. I think that's something we can still do for a live stream. This is the way that we're removing the idea of good versus bad foods. Once we do this, where's my face? There it is. Once we do this, we will be able to take away that idea that foods are good or bad. Okay. So screenshot it. Those of you who just jumped on, and if you need to go back and watch this. Okay. When you're able to use that quadrant, there is no good or bad. You're going to eat as many foods as you can out of quadrant 1. Quadrant 2, I already explained. We're going to find the portion that serves us and make sure our mind is right when we're eating that food. We're not thinking about scarcity. We're not thinking about anything but that food. Quadrant 3, we want to learn how to zhuzh up those foods and mix them into something so they are more pleasurable. And we are not eating out of number 4 unless it's an absolute, like, have to. This is for my traveling clients. You know what I'm talking about, conference food. Sometimes we just have to eat shit food. So that is the second thing. First thing is eating enough. Second is stop labeling foods as good or bad. Number 3, I want you to think about the last time you binged and what was happening right before it, okay? Again, possible triggers we already talked about are skipped a meal, you were super stressed, you're emotionally overwhelmed, you were really fatigued, or again, you restricted your food all day. I want you to put that in the chat. What happened beforehand? And I want you to, when we're talking about stress, you might be one of those individuals who thrive on like being uber stressed. So maybe call that out on yourself because it's not working for you. What happens when we binge? It's actually a really important learning experience for you. The binge provides you data that you need to turn in towards and understand what was happening or happened even like, I don't know, 18 hours beforehand. Because if you're not eating enough, if you're not getting enough sleep, that is another reason you may binge eat, because sleep is to help your body recover. If your body is under recovered, your body's going to search for energy from food. That's what food is to the body, right? So I want you to think about what was happening before. Maybe you were overwhelmed with work. Maybe you were overwhelmed with work and your kid got sick. Maybe you were overwhelmed with work, your kid got sick and you're not eating anything. Maybe you were overwhelmed with work, kid got sick, not eating anything, and you didn't get enough sleep. Probably gonna binge eat, okay? Learn yourself. Learn what's happening before the binge happens. And when you can do this, you will be able to create a plan of attack, which is number 4. Once you can sit down, and you're going to have to do this a couple times, you're going to have to kind of retrospectively look at what happened when I binged or overate or emotionally ate. And really, really get good at being curious. I always say, instead of getting critical, get curious and learn yourself, because then number 4 becomes a bit easier. Number 4 is now utilizing your tools and understanding about what causes your binge, and then creating these kind of check-ins with yourself so that you can let the air out of your balloon slowly, as I say to my clients. So what I want you to do and encourage you to do is this one very simple tool. I want you right now to go in your phone, and I want you to set a reminder or a timer at 10 a.m. and 3 or 4 p.m. And all I want you to do is pause and ask yourself these questions. Am I hungry? So H, okay? Am I angry or emotional? A. Am I lonely or in need of support? L. Am I tired or under recovered? T. Am I sick or in pain? S. Halts. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or sick. Sick or in pain, or you can say, like, what does my body need? Simply by doing this, you can start to figure out what your need is in that moment and let the air out slowly rather than letting it blow up, blow up, blow up, and then we let it go and we're in a full binge, excuse me. Then we're going to possibly meet that need. Okay? So if I'm actually hungry, then fucking eat. Stop trying to push off hunger. Push off hunger. Now, you can push off hunger. Okay, let me say that again. You can push off hunger, but if we're looking at the hunger continuum, okay, it starts at 1 and goes to 10. You can push it off to maybe a 3, but then we're getting into enemy territory. If it's a 2 or a 1, thinking that 1 is, ravenous, I guess I should have said that, and 10 is like so grossly full. Recognizing that at a certain point, like pushing off hunger is not going to serve you. Now, if you're in a calorie deficit, you should naturally feel a bit more hungry because you're eating less energy, but you'll kind of figure out what is the point of no return for your body. Okay. But if you're hungry and appropriately, it's time to eat. If you are angry or emotional, we need to do something that helps to regulate your nervous system. One of my favorite things to do is square breathing. And actually, I am going to do this with you guys so you can see how easy it is. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to pull it up. Square breathing. So I'm wondering, can I go on YouTube? I'm afraid to go on YouTube because I'm on YouTube. Anyways, I'll do it with you. It's fine. So square breathing is really thinking about making a square with your breath. So you will inhale for 4 seconds. So I'll do it with you. Inhale, 2, 4. Okay, I'm just going to do my fingers because I have to inhale as well. Hold for 4 seconds. Exhale. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so inhale, hold, exhale, hold. There are some amazing shorts on YouTube that teach you that, and it actually have like these little balls that you can follow, or like you draw a square. That's one way to calm your body down, right? That's just one of thousands of emotional regulation skills that you can use. The next one is if you do need support or connection because you're feeling lonely, call a friend, talk to a colleague, hang out with your dog. Listen, hanging out with your dog is probably one of the best things you could do for yourself. Then if we are tired or under recovered, the next thing that we're going to do is we can't necessarily go to sleep. If you can take a little nappy, great for you. But what I do in that case is I will get some water and I will go outside and I'll get some fresh air and I will just kind of get a little bit more. I live in Arizona, so it's easy for me to get vitamin D. It really does recharge you, or just kind of move your body, like get up, dance in your office, or walk around, walk up and down the stairs a couple times. That will actually help you. Don't overdo it, but like try to get some of that movement in, or just stretch. Right? Do some stretching. And then, of course, if you are sick or in pain, or your body is just needing something from you, provide that by either going home, going to bed, or, if you're feeling aches and pains, obviously, like I said, you can get up and move around. So as you're listening, I want you to, in the chat, ask yourself, what do you feel right now? So again, are you hungry? Are you angry or emotional? Are you feeling lonely or unsupported? Are you tired or under recovered? Are you sick or in pain? I want you to just put that in the chat. I want you to get used to checking into those internal cues. And as I mentioned, we're going to set a timer on our phone at 10 a.m. and at 3 or 4 p.m. so that we can check in with our body's needs. For a lot of you, you don't fucking listen to yourself. You push off your hunger. You push off your emotions. You push off going to the bathroom. I do that sometimes. We're not doing that anymore because that is a clear line to a binge. Okay. So that is number 4. Number 5, and our last one, you can still put it in the chat if you are interested, is expect relapse. You expect it. Expect relapse. And then we're going to focus on a concept called iteration. You're going to binge again. I have clients that have been in my program for 6 months that end up binging, but it's shorter. They get back to it sooner. Their relapse is shorter ultimately. Binge eating, emotional eating, healing is non-linear. It's not going to just go boop. Nothing is linear in this world, really, if we think about it. What we're trying to do is build new neural pathways around why we binge. So again, if it's when we're emotional, if it's when we're bored, if it's when our body's not getting what it needs, our current neural pathway is that's happening, trigger, go eat. So the food is the solution to the other problem. So as we're learning to build new neural pathways around those thoughts and feelings, it's going to take time. Okay. And it's also going to take you learning yourself. I can teach you guys this shit all day, but I want you to take what I'm saying to you and iterate it. So iteration basically is small tweaks to what you're doing. So instead of thinking, oh, I binged, I'm going to just give up for the day, or I'm going to try to restrict the next day, I want you to just say, okay, now that I've done the other 4 steps, right? And these aren't necessarily in order, but I'm like learning the 4 steps. Instead, what I want to do is I'm going to, and I said this with a client, she's going to walk out of the kitchen and she's going to say to herself, my brain is trying to avoid disappointment right now. And that's what we're working on this week. That's it. No grandiose change. We know that when her body walks into that kitchen, her brain is trying to avoid a sense of disappointment. That's something she and I learned. I said, do you want to breath work? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? She goes, no, I want to walk out of the kitchen and talk to myself. I said, great. So we're going to try to do that. Okay. So again, expect the binge. It's going to happen again. What you're going to take away from it, was it shorter? Was I more aware that it was happening? Some people shit on that. It's like, if you're more aware that you're not binging, great. Even if you're still binging. I know it sounds nutty, but this is how I work. This is how my program works. Recognize that you got, back to, a balanced eating after that. We didn't try to restrict. We didn't try to go and like walk it off. We didn't try to like purge it in any sort of way. Purging meaning some people try to exercise it off. Obviously, there's even more detrimental forms of purging, which would then put you into a totally different category of disordered eating disorder. We just got back. And then we learn, we assess kind of what happened, we tweak, we repeat. And over time, you will get to the point where those new neural pathways are you've created new connections between feeling disappointment, feeling a sense of failure, feeling overly emotional, feel your body not getting what it needs. And you will teach it that there are better solutions than turning to food. And all of the things I talk about, it will help over time quiet food noise. I promise you that. If you eat enough, you start to check in with your needs, you start to meet those needs, you move away, you use that sustainable eating quadrant that I told you guys about, and you expect that you are going to struggle along the way, eventually you won't struggle again. And I'm going to leave you with this. Maybe. Yeah, I'm going to leave you with this and one other question, okay? My dog, Liberty, she is a rescue. I rescued her at 1 year old. She was an outdoor dog. She was hit by a car. She lost her eye. She lost her tail. Her first 365 days of her life were hell. And then she came to my house. And she was a lot. I'm a very loving girl. And I paid a lot of money to get her trained. And some days I was like, oh my, why am I wasting this money on this trainer? This dog is crazy. And then one day I looked down. I'm going to get emotional because I love her so much. And she was just walking next to me. What we were training her on is walking on the leash. And there she was. And then she saw another dog and she sat. And she goes by this house where a dog comes underneath the gate and she looks back at me and she sits. Now, she doesn't do that. Sometimes she has mistakes or mix-ups. She gets too excited. But do I think, oh, I'm taking her back to the pound? No. I see her wins, and that example is eventually one day you're going to look at the side of you and be like, "Oh, I haven't thought about food in a couple months. Oh, I'm eating more and I'm enjoying food with my family and I'm that's it. Like I'm not overdoing it." So just know that that is possible for you, but it takes time. It takes time. So my question that I want to leave you with is, which of these 5 will you try this week? Either tell me in the chat. I know that our chat is a little bit low today, or the comments if you're listening to this. I want to know what you will try over the course of this next week. And then don't forget, you guys, this live stream is every Thursday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I know that the time changed for me because I'm in Arizona. So when I used to start it started at 5 p.m. my time. Now it starts at 4 p.m. my time. And let me know in the comments. I can actually create a place where you can sign up via email and then it goes on your calendar. So if that's something you guys want me to do, I don't know how I would do it, but I'll figure it out and I'll put it. Please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. All the announcements will be on our community page. And then I'll try to get a short out there if that's helpful for you guys. But as mentioned, all of this information is obviously educational. This is not a psychotherapeutic, what is the word we want to use? An exception or why is my brain not working? This isn't therapy. Okay. That's my disclaimer. If you're interested in my wellness coaching, which is separate from my therapeutic practice, please check out our channel. It will have links to meet with me. This is exactly what I do with my clients. We have 3 levels of support, from a group coaching, which is very competitive in regards to the investment. It's very competitive to other regular coaching programs out there, and then support that increases from there. If you're in the state of Arizona and you are interested in working with me from a therapeutic practice, I do telehealth only. My focus is everything I talk about here. Those 2 businesses are completely separate. So if you're interested in that, you can comment below and or message me. You can follow me on Instagram at The Mindset of Matter. I recently changed that name on TikTok at The Mindset of Matter, and you can find my website at mindsetofmatter.com. Other than that, I will see you guys next Thursday. Bye.